Ladies and gentlemen, I'm playing it. I'm finally checking out Super Smash Flash. I think that what really makes fighting games the most fun video game genre out there for me is the characters in each of these games. Like, you can give me any sort of fighting video game, regardless of what visual style the game is going for. Even if it's one of those anime fighting games, I'll probably still find somebody to play as. It's just such a fulfilling achievement finding a character you truly identify with for a variety of reasons. But for me, there were always two big groups of fighting game characters out there. There were the cool fighting game characters that you enjoy playing as, and then there's the really cool fighting game characters that you enjoy playing as. Ones where, even if you don't like their game plan, and even if they're surrounded by characters just as awesome as they are, if not more awesome, they're the characters that you just play regardless of all that. Characters that you play for the sake of playing as that character, and I found plenty of these characters in my time. For example, when I first really started getting into fighting games, I picked up the 30th anniversary collection for Street Fighter, and tried to learn Hyper Fighting, the first game that you could play as online. And at first, it didn't seem like I could find anybody that I really enjoyed playing as in this game, but then I found Delsum, this weird, stretchy limb man who felt very much my speed. He traded the intense speed of most of the rest of the cast for the most defensive, admittedly most annoying, normals in the game. That allowed me to try doing my own thing on my side of the screen while my opponent has to figure out how to get over to my side of the screen and approach me. Learning how to effectively keep my distance away from people, figure out the best buttons to press, and get a feel for the game's mechanics really let me get comfortable with the game at my own pace. And as I felt more confident with my defensive capabilities, I began learning offensive abilities. For example, I found out about tick throws while reading this one article about exactly why Delsum's terrifying up close and far away, and I learned how to effectively utilize Delsum's slide kick moves to go under other people's projectiles and figure out the effectiveness of Delsum's drill attacks that apply instant pressure to the opponent's side if used properly, and can just make their life awful if they don't react to it in time. It's thanks to Delsum that my preferred character choice in fighting games have become zoner type characters, characters that play a lot more defensively than most of the other characters, characters with extremely good normals and or projectiles, characters that make up a group of characters that nobody likes and will get any opponent you face against very angry as you force the opponent to not play the game while you keep pressing the same buttons over and over and over again until the opponent either adapts or more likely uninstalls the video game. But despite this archetype being my preferred style of fighting game characters, why do I play Urien in Street Fighter 3rd Strike? Well, primarily because seriously, if there's anybody out there watching this video that hasn't found a character for them out there that is as cool and awesome as Urien, I genuinely feel awful for you, because as fun as Delsum is to play, the guy himself, I could give or take. Don't get me wrong, I love this Elastigirl-esque stretchy man, and I absolutely fall in love with this guy over his gameplay alone, but the character himself, again, is just, I am a pacifist. I do not like fighting. Here I go to fight right now. Again, and again, and again. And it's not like I enjoy doing this, but I'm just gonna keep fighting anyway. He doesn't quite click with me as much as somebody like Urien does. Urien is peak performance, ladies and gentlemen. He's got the overly muscular build, the crazy and over-the-top edginess that's so just edgy, it's incredibly funny to me. And on top of all of that, he's got metal powers. Like, screw fire, man. Everybody uses fire in this game. That's an uncommon element. When was the last time you fought somebody who used metal to hurt you? Urien is an incredible creation. By far the best Street Fighter character alongside these three goofy lads. And the one that I'll always probably be seen playing, regardless about how I feel about him being a charge character, and his over-reliance on meter is definitely an annoyance I have about him. Regardless, I'll be picking him if he's in the game. It's characters like Urien that I treasure the most. Those rare few characters that you look besides their flaws just to be able to play as the character. There's a few other ones that I can think of. Primarily Wolf when I played Super Smash Bros. Brawl growing up, who was just Fox, who I learned the game with, but edgier. He had a much cooler laser gun than Fox. He had an admittedly broken recovery, and also had the greatest move ever in Super Smash Bros. History. I do not hear people talk about Wolf's Brawl near enough. Why does he do this? Why does he just curl himself into a little ball and rotate around a little bit? And why is this the best thing ever created ever? There's also Kefla in Dragon Ball FighterZ, but Dragon Ball is a bit of a weird case for me because my experience with the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole can be summed up by me just telling you, I watched like 1/3 of the Tournament of Power portion of the show on Adult Swim late some nights. But during the brief period of Dragon Ball that I had watched, I had seen this woman, Kefla. Now, regardless about how I feel about her as a character, the one thing that really stuck with me about her was this scene where she was all like, I'm gonna throw everything I've got into this next attack! And then she just starts shooting an obscene amount of lasers everywhere just by charging up and yelling quite a bit. And then she says to Goku, I'll see you in hell! And then she starts directing them at Goku while he barely dodges them, and at the end of that sequence, she realizes that Goku is now in the air and he can't dodge, so she literally stops all of these radiating energy lasers that she built up just to summon a few tiny red orbs in each hand that she starts rotating very fast so that they become massive yellow and red little disc things that she launches at Goku into very large beams that genuinely look like one of the coolest attacks in anything really that I've ever seen. The fact that the entire sequence of events I just told you about is her super attack in this game was more than enough reason to not only buy her since she was DLC, but put her on my team immediately and figure out how to play the game with her. Okay, enough about anime, Shiny. This video is about your favorite video game character ever. Just get on with it already. Who is your favorite video game character of all time? Okay, first off, rude. I didn't even get to tell you who I mained in the LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga PvP mode yet. But second, if you really want to know who my favorite fighting game character of all time is, we'll have to go back, way back to my childhood. I am about to talk about the very first game I ever played. Growing up, my dad gave me and my brother partial ownership over his Sega Genesis console. My dad's collection of cartridges for the system wasn't a large one. There were only a few that he had. The first one was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The second game I played was Mutant League Hockey, which I might also add is an incredibly expensive cartridge to buy nowadays, so if my old cartridge ever dies out, a replacement is going to eat my wallet whole. But anyways, the third game I fondly remember playing on the Sega Genesis as a kid was Mortal Kombat. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 being the first game I ever played as a kid opened my eyes to the wide world of platforming video games. Mortal Kombat was my life back as a kid. Every day, I'd come home from a long day of school just to turn on this old thing and play the game some more. It did not take me long at all to break the computer AI in this game wide open and start aiming for insanely high scores, and find very funny glitches in the game that programmers sort of just allow me to do. I knew how to do just about everything in this game, from the fatality inputs of every character for how exactly to find the secret mini-boss character Reptile, even how to break all the materials in the insanely difficult Test Your Might minigames, which require an inhuman amount of mashing. But now the question still remains. Obviously, one of these 7 playable characters is my favorite fighting game character of all time, but which one? Do I like the 2 ninjas, thanks to their incredibly unique method of giving you a free hit-in after just landing one of their projectiles? Do I like Johnny Cage because he's got by far the most personality out of every character in this list? Do I like Raiden because he is quite literally a god? Or do I like Sonya because fun is for the weak? Well, actually, it's none of these characters, not even close to any of them. Liu Kang is my guy. You already know, dude. The guy in the middle of the character select screen, he's got such easy inputs to memorize that even to this day, haven't played the game in years, I go forward, forward A, forward, forward C, the 2 most easy moves to input in the game ever. And just look at that fatality. He's so awesome, he doesn't even need a proper fatality. He just goes flipping and dipping and wham! Knocks him right into the stratosphere. God, what an awesome character. Plus he's got fire. Not even Scorpion, the guy who literally masters the art of fire, uses fire like Liu Kang does. It should be obvious why Liu Kang is the bestest fighting game character ever. I mean, nobody even comes close. If you unironically like Liu Kang for any of the reasons I just said, I am so sorry. Again, picture this. I've essentially mastered Mortal Kombat. Every character felt easy for me to beat the game with, and the game is starting to feel dull for me as I move on to other ones. But then one day, I decided to just turn the game back on again, and then I realized that Kano, the very character player 1 starts the game selected on, is a character I never really played much as the rest, and I forgot why that was at first. But then I looked at his move inputs. This is a game where special moves rarely go above 3 different motions at a time. Yet here Kano was, telling me to do a 360-degree motion on a D-pad just to be able to do my spin move. Here Kano was, telling me to use the block button just to be able to throw my projectile. Here Kano was, with the best jump kick, best crouching kick, unique command normal, funny-looking throw, fast jump punch, incredible uppercut, 10 out of 10 victory pose. Man, Kano's kind of cool, isn't he? It definitely took me a while growing up to accept that Kano was my favorite, but seriously, right now, it is hard to imagine a world where I didn't grow up playing the guy with a knife. Seriously, remember how overrated I said throwing fire was in this game? Well, basically everyone in this game throws a similar sort of just elemental projectile. Johnny Cage throws some weird energy thing, Sonya sort of has rings, I guess, and yes, Liu Kang throws fire, just like every other fighting game Shoto out there. Imagine walking up to the immortal god of thunder and just throwing a knife at him. At least tell me why he's hurt by a regular old knife as much as he is being completely frozen solid by an elemental ice ninja. Also riddle me this. How? Primarily why Kano is my favorite character nowadays is simply the fact that Kano is really, really weird. First off, we had the knife move that somehow damages God, but now he's telling Sir Isaac Newton that he's living in a reality where no apple hit his head, and now gravity doesn't apply to him, so he takes advantage of this fact to curl up into a ball and ram himself at you with alarming speeds. It's a pretty good punish tool since it's fast and incredibly hard to react to, but more importantly, he turns into a ball. This is a game that was supposed to be this incredibly serious martial arts heavy blood sport, and here my guy is spinning and winning like it's nobody's business. Come on, man. Even if none of you have ever played Mortal Kombat, you gotta admit this looks stupid, but to me, it's stupid in a good way. There's hardly a reason not to like this character, honestly. They did a really good job designing this evil crook man who just has a Terminator-esque robot mask that apparently gives him a laser eye, but nah, he doesn't need to use that in-game. Let's just give him a knife. For somebody like me who has sunk hours into the game making sure that I play everybody optimally, Kano was a breath of fresh air to young me, making me play the game a lot differently than other people. The grind I put into this game one day just to figure out the best way to rotate my thumb around the D-pad to learn how to use Kano Ball was a journey I'll honestly never forget. It's actually because of Kano that I remember hearing about fight sticks being controllers I can use and being like, oh, this would be perfect for Kano Ball combos. Kano is a really special character to me, and even though my appreciation for the character is obviously shrouded in nostalgia, which clouds my judgment on the actual guy, I still feel comfortable enough to say to everyone that he's my favorite character out of every fighting game I've ever played. Even in the modern Mortal Kombat games, I'll still pick Kano. He's just my guy. Despite the fact that his special move inputs are a lot more simplified now, and I no longer have to try squeezing out a 360-degree motion if I want to end a combo with Kano Ball, I still have an insane amount of respect for Kano and just how perfected he ended up feeling for me as a kid. There will probably never be a character I feel as strongly attached to as Kano, primarily because he's an insanely hard character to learn that I learned through months of practicing his inputs, but yeah, he's my favorite fighting game character of all time. It isn't easy for me to go play Mortal Kombat and not play Kano, and apparently in Mortal Kombat 2 they legit just cut him from the roster. Honestly, looking at the Mortal Kombat 2 roster and how they've got Reptile as a playable character, cool new guys like Baraka, Melina, and Kung Lao, they even put Shang Tsung, the boss from the first game, as a playable character. Screw making Goro, a character with an easy-to-imagine moveset already made for him, the playable boss from that game. Nah, let's give players the option to play as somebody who can turn into every single character in the game the playable character. That sounds like a great idea. It's probably for the best that they cut Kano in this game to make room for new blood and some new old blood as well, but his absence doesn't change the fact that he's my favorite and will always be my favorite. Mortal Kombat 2 is the worst video game ever made. Why would they proceed to cut my boy Kano from the game, and then proceed to have him all tied up in one of the stages of this game like that? Kano wouldn't succumb to the law. He's Kano. His whole thing is running away from the law. This is a disgrace to his entire character.